Hey, what the hell's going on, you guys? It is Tuple Player Negative AE, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. Let's left off. Um, I don't know. We're still kind of in crazy mode. I had kind of given the theory that Satoshi is bigger than I think he is, or I thought he was. But I want to see more of the story before I give a final, like, guess on what's going on. Well, I don't know about final, but like a good guess. Sunday. The fireworks I heard before noon were all probably to announce the opening of the festival. The weather certainly wasn't festival weather. It was cloudy. The television forecast was calling for possible downpours starting this evening and lasting until around midnight. But as long as it wasn't raining at the moment, the festival would go on. The festival had to open or it wouldn't begin. The Furude Shrine grounds were probably decorated beautifully for the big performance that happened once a year. Many paper lanterns were hung up all in auspicious colors of red and white. The sound of electric motors at the stalls, the voices of kids running around, their happy families watching them, smiling. Today was the day. Today was the festival of Watanagashi. Was everyone already partaking in the activities or festivities? What about Satoko? Had she forgotten her days of suffering just for a few moments while smiling at that brilliant smile she hadn't in so long? This would probably be the longest day of my life. It would be a day I would remember vividly for as long as I lived. I do notice this music. I don't want anybody to think that I'm not noticing this music right now. It's just I can't stop at every piece of music and be like, wow, that music. Oh, but this music. This is good. This is good. I like this. It's very distorted, and I think that's just because of the memory. I don't know. I told my parents I'd go to the festival this evening and lounged about early afternoon. We may have lived under the same roof, but they couldn't help being surprised by the deviation from how I usually spent my time. Glancing at my parents out of the corner of my eye, I went to the front door. I tied my shoes just a little tighter than normal, as if to express the firmness of my resolve in those knots. When I decided to murder Satoko's uncle, I was in such a state of excitement I almost went crazy. When I was planning out the act of a murder, which went directly against all the morals fostered in me this far, I was in such a state of calm I almost thought I had lost my emotions. And then yesterday, when Satoshi had made the exact same phone call as me, I didn't know how to describe the muddled feelings I had back then. And now entering today. Right now, I lacked all the emotions I'd possessed up until now. To make a simple analogy, it was the kind of feeling you might get right after you wake up when you're still half asleep and don't feel anything very clearly. I had no anger towards that man for the violence he committed against Satoko, nor that I feel sadness towards or sympathize with her. I felt no discontent towards my friends who had just waited and watched, and never reaching out to her with any help, and no nervousness or fear towards that day that had finally come. Yes. Right now, you could say I was in the best possible condition for carrying out a murder. I apologize for my throat clears, by the way. I don't know what it is with my throat. I'll try to keep it to a minimum, so that way, because reading. When it came down to it, I'd probably need to let my violent emotions take control. But right up until that moment, I would be like an insect. I would slowly, surely, and silently move towards my one objective. And then, when I had my prey, I'd attack like a bullet. There was no emotion in that. Just the creeping mindset insects possessed. That sort of sneaking feeling was just the best. I could kill Satoko's uncle like he was a worm. I had to laugh a little at thinking that way. Thinking he like an insect. Ugh. I tightened my laces one more time and walked out the door. Interesting. I brought the shovel out of the front storeroom. I would need it to dig the man's grave. The shovel was a convenient one made for camping. If I twisted it like so and split it into 3, I could easily hide it in my bag. You'd also bring like a plastic bag, I would think, right? So you could like not get dirt on it. I don't know. Maybe that's thinking too hard. I twisted the shovel and dismantled it. And even though I'd done it countless times before, I had trouble for some reason. Like I was suddenly clumsy now. I knew why. It wasn't because I was nervous. My weak-willed self deep within me was hesitant. I knew that the act of dismantling the shovel was the first step I'd take to becoming a murderer. That last twist was conspicuously difficult, but it finally submitted before the strength of my determination. Okay. Okay. The area around Satoko's house was outside my circle of activity. But just riding my bike in the middle of the day like this might seem suspicious to an observant person. I definitely want to avoid meeting and talking to someone I knew. With that in mind, I chose the route to my destination carefully. I didn't mind going the long way around. With how long this day would be, I could never be too careful after all. Still, I was fortunate enough not to run across anybody on my way to the planned site of the crime. I wasn't superstitious at this point, but it was a good omen. The place I would dig the hole was in this grove, a little further into the woods. I was worried I might not make it to the same place as before, since there were no signs to guide me, but I arrived there smoothly and as expected. I took another look around. Not even a hint of human presence. The air was a little bit damp, but was comfortable in the cool shade of the trees. I took the disassembled shovel out of my bag and began skillfully putting it together. Then I stuck the tip of the shovel into a soft-looking patch of ground and pushed it down with my foot. The shovel would split the earth if I put some strength into that foot. The act of doing so seemed awfully like the point of no return, which made me hesitate. I was digging a hole with the shovel, but it made me gulp hard. Calm down, Keiichi Mibara. Let's do a countdown. Get it done on the count of 3, okay? Alright. 1, 2. Couldn't do it on the countdown despite it just being sticking the shovel into the ground. And I had to count down 5 or 6 times. Just digging a hole, this is pathetic. As I thought that, I put my strength into my heel like I was stepping on something unpleasant, and split. Came the sharp noise. Only soft at the beginning. Roots and stones quickly got in my way, informing me of just how hard it was to dig a hole big enough for a person. No decent person would come here anyway. Maybe it could be enough to just cover him up with some dirt. Every time a naive thought like that crept into my mind, I bit down a bit on my teeth and dug even harder. I've dug enough now. I can hide him like this. Every time I thought that, I would go down into the hole, disappointed at how shallow it was, and return to digging. A thin layer of sweat on my brow eventually formed into drops and fell onto the ground. My back was in an even worse shape. My damp shirt adhered to my skin. It felt so disgusting. The things I couldn't stand the most were the mosquitoes. Maybe they were attracted by the scent of my sweat? The black and white striped mosquitoes would cling to me whenever I let my guard down. It was hot, it was disgusting. I was sticky, I was itchy. All those uncomfortable feelings surged through me in waves. I hadn't yelled at anyone. It was me talking to myself. 「 I hadn't yelled at anyone. It was me talking to myself. 」 It was me talking to myself. 「 I hadn't yelled at anyone. It was me talking to myself. 」 It was me talking to myself. 」 It was me talking to myself. 」 It was me talking to myself. 「 It was me talking to myself. 」 It was me talking to myself. 」 It was me talking to myself. 」 It was me talking to myself. 「 It was me talking to myself. 」 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 It was me me telling myself something. Why was I feeling this way? Digging a hole all the way out here. What benefit would digging this hole give me? What harm would there be in not digging this hole at all? Wait, in the first place, who ordered me to dig? When I thought it over, maybe ever since grade school or even before that, my whole life had been me doing what other people told me to. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it was somehow constrained living in a life based on the commands of others. I didn't mean I was too lazy to find my own road in life. Metaphorically speaking, yes, it was like a road. Fuck. I'd never been particularly physically fit. I didn't hit puberty very early, and if all my classmates got in a line, and I got in a line, I'd usually be on the shorter end. My scores in jump rope competitions and marathons were the very picture of average. And it wasn't like the captains of the dodgeball teams would have passionate rock, paper, scissors contests. Like the captains of the dodgeball passionate to see who would get me. During those kindergarten and grade school years, it felt like someone was only worth how fast they grew and how fit they were. Looking back on it now, it was really uncomfortable to me. Or for me. The thing that turned all that around was just a few words from my mother.
Keiichi, あなた塾に入る気はない。学校の勉強がわかるようになって楽しくなるわよ。
The very first test I took at cram school was kind of like a game. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't like the tests with the exact same problem dozens of times in a row. Every question had a picture to it. Almost like one of those puzzle books that came with manga magazine. If my studies at school had been like this, it would have been way more fun. Several days later, I went to the cram school again with my mother and the enrollment paperwork. Mom and the person at the cram school had a really long, heated discussion, so I accidentally dozed off and missed most of what they said. But I clearly remember one point. Oh, here we go. Mom had made a loud groan, surprised at something.
61って。
いえ、違いますよ。全国展開する当塾での平均偏差値が61です。簡易式の知能検査でも非凡な数字が出ています。まず申し上げて、前原圭一君は。
圭一が？でも学校では通信簿も何かの
いくつかの知能テストとも重ねましたが、その結果、前原君は意味を持たない問題に非常に弱いのです。無味乾燥で自身の生活に結びつかない内容の問題に興味が持てないのです。
What the fuck is the Kraepelin test? I'm gonna look it up, obviously. Unless someone can just tell me what it is. The interesting things as a result, my Barakun is extremely nice. I want to take the Kraepelin test.
2+3 は分からなくても、リンゴが2個あって3個増やした。
その通りで。例えば、正六面体の展開図を書けと言われて混乱する圭一君も、サイコロを切り開いたらどんな形になるというふうに聞けば、見事に答えられるのです。
A person from the cram school showed her a page from one of the exams I took. It was a paper with questions about construction. Construction questions were unusual, so they were really cool, weren't they?
正二十面体の展開図を書けという問題です。この問題を二十面体のサイコロを作るにはどんな風に厚紙を切ればいいと聞き直したら、圭一君はさも簡単そうにこれを書いてみせました。これは平凡なことではありません。
圭一、あなたどこかの本の雑誌の付録か何かで二十面体のサイコロを作ったことがあったの？
This only went from 1 to 6. I never even considered this test that there were dice with more than 6 sides. Or I never even considered before this test that there were dice with more than 6 sides. It was fun to imagine what the shape of a die that went up to 20 would have. If I had a die like that, I could win dice games against anyone. So I immediately wanted to make it. Finally, I entered cram school. There were only 4 students in the class they put me in, which is called select. It was the highest class, and some of my classmates were in the lower classes. And when I remembered how much better they had done at things like dodgeball and the 50-meter sprint, I felt happiness well up within me for the first time. Even if I wasn't as good at them physically, I triumphed over them in other ways. It was fun at first. The more I did, the more I was praised. My teachers at school suddenly started pampering me. It felt good. The parents were satisfied too, and I enjoyed seeing them satisfied. The more I listened to my parents' commands, the more fun things got. Serious lifestyle didn't end up lasting very long. It was only the beginning. I enjoyed learning more and more. I gradually got along less with my friends. My classmates were behind what I was learning in cram school, and I eventually stopped respecting the teachers, given that they could put me to sleep with their lectures. And while I was a disagreeable sort who bragged a lot about how much I knew, the ways of the world wouldn't let me remain in that state of ecstasy forever. I would do as I was told, and then I'd go above and beyond their expectations, and then they praised me. I was happy for that, and the cycle repeated itself like wheels on a bike. I thought moving forward like that was how life worked, like a bicycle. When I moved to Hinamizawa, I realized just how inadequate it was. Some things happened. We started saying how moving and getting a change in atmosphere would be nice. And then my father. He had a place he liked, that he'd gone to a few times to draw the nature. He started saying he wanted to bring his artillery there? I've seen that word before, I just don't know how to pronounce it. With me in blank amazement, they decided to move to Hinamizawa. After that, I met them, didn't I? First day of transferring here, or after transferring. This is all important information, so I'm interested. We're learning a little bit more about Keiichi, which can prove or disprove the crazy Keiichi theory. Yeah, so let's see. I went to the classroom with the teacher. Thought it would seem pitiful for her to bring me in there, so I placed my hand on the door before she could, slammed it open, and set foot into the room. Thrilling, powerful way that I opened the door was none other than my own determination trying to try doing my life over again. Then, within seconds, that determination took a hard counter to the face. A blackboard eraser fell on me. Plus, there was a huge rock inside. It was a supremely painful trap someone had set up. Come on, Satoko was already beating me right from the first day I transferred? That frightened me. I was bewildered. The class was surprised too. I wasn't just surprised that all the students in the class were different, in different grades and were different genders. It was because the room felt completely different from the schools I knew. As I spent more time with them, my surprise continued to grow. This fresh sense of surprise had never left my life, even to this day. Every day was a fresh new surprise. I've never had a single boring day since coming here. The days were lively, spent with the other club members. We played Old Maid with cards with scratches on the back to cheat. We let all our passions go wild during our games. Competition. Then I saw an unexpected side. Thinking back on it, I only ate dinner with her 2 nights. Such a sweet, gentle time spent, and it warmed my heart remembering it even now. I realized that Satoko was pretending to be stubborn and firm, and how brave she was, part of her heart always waiting for her Nini to come home. and I vowed to become her Nini. Oh, dude. What if I actually... I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything. But though it might have seemed like she was taking the lead, it was actually her way of depending on another person. Even if Satoshi and Satoko's lives as siblings were confined by their uncle and his wife, they were still warm, sunny days. When did those sunny days all go wrong? What mistake was made? Lamenting the tragedies of the past would do no good, and I told myself that so many times. But I did anyway. Keiichi, isn't that why you chose your own path to take back that life? Nobody ordered you to do this. You decided it on your own. You don't desire anyone's praise for this. You thought it through all yourself. You'll carve it out yourself. And you'll do it now. This wasn't a path I could see very far down. Not like the road parents or society could offer. It was a narrow path, dark and utterly distressing. One for which the step would always be shrouded in darkness. But that disheartening path would keep going on forever. It was an unlimited path, and there was nowhere I couldn't travel. The kind of path only available to those able to imagine where they wanted to go. Don't be ashamed at breaking from it, from the brightly lit paved road. In fact, feel proud that you found your very own path to walk. This sounds like a manipulative demon. And I hadn't discarded the paved road either. Once I achieved my goal, I would go back to that bright road. And then, I'd spend those average sunny days at my leisure. When I next realized it, the hole had grown so deep I couldn't believe it. I'd dig all this myself? Put my shovel into the bottom of the hole. I would drag the body here, throw it into the hole, and cover it up with dirt. Even if it took me time to camouflage it by putting plants on top, all would go much more easily than digging this hole had. I glanced at my watch. It was almost evening and I hadn't realized it. I may not have felt the time passing, but digging a hole this deep must have taken quite a lot of time. I took a seat on a slanted rock nearby and wiped my sweat from my brow. Now, once it got a little darker, I'd go get the metal bat I hid in the schoolyard. Then I'd make the call to lure him out. Then, I'd do it. The number of things I needed to do to reach that moment were dwindling. I felt that moment closing in on me much more keenly than I did the passage of time. I didn't have any hesitation, but I still felt that contradiction. At every step in this process, I had few chances to hesitate, to turn back, to let myself lose my nerve. Having to endure those million temptations and wait for when the time was right was an indescribably slow and painful torture. I had thought myself acting all weak because of that, but I stopped midway through. This was okay. It was fine. I could detest the abnormal act of homicide as much as I wanted, and it didn't matter. I wasn't going to be a cutthroat killer after today. I would pass through this strange day and go back to the world I was in before. If I fell to the level of the psychopath who thought nothing of killing, I wouldn't be able to go back to my old life. So this was fine with me. I didn't have to feel ashamed at hesitating to kill, because I was human. So funny to me that I'd be the bearer of Oyashiro-sama's curse, and at the same time I was aware I was human. I exhaled lightly instead. I concealed my presence and sharpened my senses in all directions, to search for anyone around but me. Okay, let's go. One step at a time. I would walk my own path. A path no one had forced me to walk. Cicadas made an annoying fuss. Their chorus covered up the suspicious noise of me breaking twigs underfoot. And their chorus filled the path far ahead of me, letting me know I would be alone for some time. Cicadas blessed the path I walked, encouraging me with every last ounce of strength they had. So in the other chapters where the cicadas were kind of like a warning, in this chapter they're like a guidance. And I think that's because this is the demon arc where I like turn into like this evil piece of shit. And I kill this guy. I think it's not going to end well. Talking on the point of me killing this person, it's not going to solve anything. I mean, I've said this before, but I think that when I kill this guy, Satoko is just going to go off onto her own. And they're going to take her away and maybe place her somewhere else because of the amount of murders that are happening in this area. I also find it curious that the previous two situations they mentioned have happened. So you know how we were playing Old Maid with the scratched cards. That happened, I think, in the first one. The first one or the second one. But definitely there was a correlation with the second one with the game shop where they had tournaments at the game shop. But then it looks like whatever happened didn't happen, and now we're in the Satoko arc, which is a weird timeline because we are planning to kill someone right now. I still don't know. I know Satoshi is probably bigger than we think he is. I see. I don't want to say anything, but my idea is that Satoshi is kind of like. In the second one, they said that the family was cursed, so I think that maybe like Satoshi is like something else. They also said something about the manager in the first game, which is Shion, I believe. So having Shion be kind of involved in the whole mess is interesting as well, and I guess I'm interested in her chapter, but that's not till chapter 5, I don't think. So we're just gonna continue and see what happens. In not even an hour, the veil of night would draw near, and the sky would be tinted with dusk. By that time, the Higurashi would let me hear their chorus in the place of cicadas. Place of the cicadas. Aren't they the same thing? The Higurashi and the cicadas. I'm gonna look it up right now. I'm just gonna type it into Google. Definition. I'll go on a little bit longer just because I just want to see. Because I believe Japanese term for cicada. So I wonder what they mean. When that happened, would everything be over with? Would everything have ended? It said something along those lines when I left Satoko's fate up to public agency. But this time was different. I would do it. I would carry it out. I would end it. It would all be over very soon. Everything would end. Yes. Higurashi cried. And roll credits. It is a credit roll situation. That's the halfway point. I think we see what happens a little bit in this. We'll end it a little bit into the second half. That's a roll credits moment, which is interesting. Because we haven't had a roll credits moment really. Well, I mean, I think we have. Have we? We have. We have to have. I think I remember at least one other roll credits moment. And if I'm remembering wrong, and this is the only roll credits moment, then that's crazy. Because we're about like, what, halfway? This is like the middle chapter? Well, I mean, the middle chapter of the ones out right now. There's like 6 out right now that I can play on Steam. And then I guess there's more after that, so we'll look into that when we get there. But roll credits in the 3rd chapter, so that's good. It was the first time I'd seen the school with such a lack of human presence. Still, I quieted my breath and looked around, not wanting to be unprepared. It had gotten darker outside, but it was almost like my eyes could see more clearly now. made absolutely sure of my safety, and then walked to the heavy construction machine I had hidden the metal bat behind. I had a tinge of worry, a premonition that someone had found the bat and hidden it somewhere else as a prank. If that happened, would I take that as an opportunity to desist? If it really wasn't there, then the sensation of chilled metal was still here where I had left it. It hadn't run away. Satoshi hadn't run away. He'd waited here patiently for me.
待たせたな、サトシ。いよいよだが、覚悟はいいか?
Through the metallic touch, Satoshi grins at me in my mind. That's what I should be asking, you know? I did this, that's what I should be asking, you know? I did this last year already. You should be more worried about yourself.
上等だぜ、目に物を見せてやろうぜ。
Satoshi's back got lighter and lighter, and fit into my hands like it was being absorbed. It didn't feel wrong to swing this. I could move it around so naturally it was like an extension of my own right arm. Of course, it felt like that. Satoshi and I were holding the bat holding one bat together. Next, I would make the call to lure the man out. It wasn't a bad time for it. My friends were doubtlessly parading happily through the stalls. I hadn't considered where to make the call from. My house and Satoko's house were pretty far apart. If I called from my house, I wouldn't make it. Couldn't I use the school phone? But as I thought, the room was locked up and I couldn't get in. Shit. So naive. Should have at least figured this part out. I couldn't call him. And just for that, was today all over? Sorry, Satoshi. Just as I cursed my own naivete. Frick, man, there's that word again. A miracle occurred. A bicycle came into the schoolyard. It was a familiar middle-aged man. The one from the Forest Service field office. Why? Wasn't today Sunday? Was he here to pick up something he forgot? Anyway, the forest officer went around back, felt around in his pocket, and then unlocked the door and entered. Best possible coincidence, and it had to be Satoshi who saved me. The metal bat, through my contact with it, told me this was a chance I couldn't allow to slip by. Sections from the forest office and the school were neatly separated. I felt the man head into the forest office storehouse, which was so far in the back students weren't allowed into it. The door didn't match its fittings well, so it didn't close all the way, and the gap in the door opened slowly as if to lure me in. I took a deep breath and went in. I tiptoed along silently and stealthily, and made it into the teacher's lounge. That was the only place with a phone. As I held my breath in the teacher's lounge, I heard the Forest Service officer walking back over. Then, the back door clattered shut and was locked. I glanced out the window at the schoolyard and watched as the man got on his bike like nothing had happened and rode out the school gate. The school once again emptied, becoming deathly silent. I waited for a bit to make sure the silence was the real deal, and reached out for the telephone on the principal's desk. I fished Satoko's house phone number out of my pocket. The number in the class directory for Satoko had been the one from their house now where she lived with her uncle. I touched the dial with my fingers and then thought for a moment about what to say exactly when he picked up, despite how many times I'd gone over it in my head last night. Now that I had my finger on the dial like this, and started to seep out of my mind like a cracked bucket leaking water. Simple would be best. More importantly, to say it straight and not sound suspicious. I counted off 3 heartbeats and spun the dial. The call sound. Satoko's uncle pick up? Now of all times, the hope that he wouldn't pick up, and the feeling of doom, and the knowledge that I couldn't save Satoko if he didn't, whirled around in a vortex. It was the voice of a grumpy old man, like he had just woken up. He picked up. Say your name so I know you're Hyojo, you asshole. It would be terrible if I got it wrong. Made up my mind. I had all the initiative on my side. Here we go.
こちらは下根市沖宮警察です。 北条さんのお宅ですか？
I was changing my voice, but did he really think I sounded like an adult? Would he believe I was the police?
はい、北条ですけど。
今お宅のお嬢さんの北条聡子さん。
え、佐藤君があいつ何かやらかしおりましたか？
He fell for it. I could tell by how tense he was that he didn't doubt my words.
詳しい事情はこちらにいらしてすぐにこちらへ来ていただくことはできますか？
今ですか？風呂に入っちゃったからあんまし表に出たかないんですがね。
You don't want to come because you already took a bath?
はい、今
すぐぜかく。
詳しい話はこちらでいたします。ではお待ちしていますのでよろしくお願いします。
ああ、ちょっと俺警察署がどこよ場所。
You moron, what the hell? Yokonomiya police station? I don't know where it is either. Aren't you from around here? Why don't you know that? Greasy sweat came over my body. Eventually, just as I was about to choke, he spoke.
消防署の隣でしたっけ？遠いな。
Thank goodness he remembered on his own for me. I didn't care where the police station was, as long as he left his house to get there.
ではお待ちしていますので。
俺警察行ったら誰んとこ訪ねればいいんよ。あんた名前は？
Top of that, he wanted to know my name? Just leave your goddamn house already.
前橋と申します。では失礼します。
I almost thoughtlessly told him my real name. I managed to change the last syllable of it, but I put the receiver down like I was running away. My fingers were trembling, and I was soaked with a tepid sweat. I wasn't just nervous about the phone call. With that call, everything had finally been put into motion. Yeah, there's no turning back now. It was locked before, but it was easy enough to open from the inside. But I couldn't lock it again after I left. In terms of being thorough, I wanted to lock it, but I couldn't waste time going back to the teacher's lounge and looking for the key. I needed to rush back as fast as I could and ambush him. I zoomed back to the scene on my bike. If Satoko's uncle got out of town before I got there, everything would be over. He'd learned there was no one at the station named Meibashi, and things would get pretty messed up. As I returned at full speed, I passed a family wearing yakutas. Or yukatas? They must have been on their way to the festival. Many people in Hinamizawa knew my face, though I didn't know theirs. Even just passing them like this made me uneasy. But I didn't generally come around here, so those living in the area might not have known much about me. That didn't matter right now. I needed to get back as fast as possible to control my breathing and ambush the man. I hid my bike in a thicket and picked up Satoshi's bat, which I had just left hidden in the shade. And then I just held my breath, waiting to see someone. Wondered if he still hadn't gotten there. Or maybe he went right out after the phone call and passed by here already. Couldn't figure out which it was, and was set upon an indescribable impatience. I'm down, Keiichi Maebara. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the episode, please hit the like button. I really appreciate it. Also, subscribe if you haven't done so already. We're on our way to murder this man. I'm pretty sure that this man has not left his house yet. He sounds like the lazy type that wants to take his time. And it's probably a bother to go to the police station anyway, so he probably hasn't left yet. And I think we're gonna murder. I think we are gonna kill him. I just think it's not gonna go as smoothly as we're thinking it's going to go. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll I don't know. Anyway, leave a comment if you have any thoughts or concerns about my theory, about how, I don't know, it's a pretty solid theory that he's going to murder this person. Satoko's going to get sent away. Satoshi's a bigger part of this than I thought, and Shion is the manager that is leading everything. But there's also, yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I'm waiting to hear knowledge about and stuff like that. So I'll see you guys in the next episode, whenever that may be, and peace out, you guys.